What's going on, my beautiful DC brothers and sisters? It's your boy, the Truth 31. Hit like, subscribe for all that DC goodness on your face, neck, and chest. And today I wanted to talk about a film that never got made, but it would have been so cool if it did. And that's The Green Arrow Escape from Supermax. Like, that title alone just brings me back to like John Carpenter's, Escape from New York. Like it had that classic 80s vibe to it, just like the title alone. And I have a feeling the movie would have been the same way. At least I'd hope. But it sounded so cool, and it would have been so cool. And so it was going to be directed by David S. Goyer, the guy who co-wrote, the Dark Knight trilogy and wrote Man of Steel. And he was also writing and with Justin Marks. So the production history, David Goyer and Justin Marks penned a script for a movie starring Green Arrow, originally called Supermax. On June 5th, 2008, the film was retitled Green Arrow Escape from Supermax. Oh, so fucking cool. The reported storyline is that the hero, framed for a crime he didn't commit, must escape a high-security prison filled with B and C-list villains and rogue superheroes. Come on, bro. How awesome is that? It's like the Batman Arkham Asylum, but with Green Arrow. And if you couldn't do a Batman Arkham Asylum movie, this would have been preferred. Like, I would have taken this, especially around the 2008 mark, where the Dark Knight was really popular, really like cooking. If you and this would have been like a great introduction for Green Arrow, because not a lot of people know Green Arrow, but he's so fucking cool. He's so badass. He gets a lot of comparisons to Hawkeye, which is like, get out of here, bro. First of all, Green Arrow was first, and Green Arrow is way cooler, and Green Arrow is way more awesome than Hawkeye. Come on, bro, give me a break. Like, Green Arrow is the shit. Right? MTV posted an interview with Marks on its site. In it, he says the following: Justin Marks, who was the writer for Green Arrow Supermax. "It's a very, very awesome prison. I majored in architecture in college, and design is how I actually started in for Supermax, designing the prison. It had to be the kind of thing that was a character in and of itself." Marks said, "We're in a world where instead of just trying to contain a guy who's really big, you're trying to contain a guy who can, in this case, icicle. So he was gonna be like one of the main villains. Icicle is like one of the C-list villains, maybe even D-list, who can freeze things. What kind of cell would a guy like that need in order to have his powers neutralized? So to escape from Supermax, they have to go through the most elaborate heist we've ever seen, involving superpowers, because the prison itself kind of has superpowers." He added that Black Canary won't be making an appearance in the film, which would have sucked, because like Black Canary and Green Arrow is like, two peas in a pod. And in that, it will include cameos from the Riddler, Lex Luthor, and the Joker. So fucking imagine that back in 2008, we would have had cameos from the Riddler, Joker, and Lex Luthor. Oh my God, that would have been so cool. That would have been so cool to see, especially with the Green Arrow, a character we've never seen in live action before. Like, and this is before the CW Arrow, Stephen Amell. So this would have been our first introduction to Green Arrow, the character, in a fucking Supermax movie. Oh, why didn't you make this? Goyer has given sporadic status updates on the film, but this is like years ago. So like now this is like dead and buried. Confirming it is still being worked on, but not much else. With no real news on Supermax in the past year, many wondered if the film had quietly been canned. Most likely it is, unless something new comes along. The Hollywood Reporter later confirmed that the movie is still in development, but it was not among the active projects listed by the studio in the recent announcement of the formation of the DC Entertainment. Interestingly, it sounds as if Warner Brothers also planning a separate Green Arrow origin movie. Whether the origin movie will take precedence over Supermax remains to be seen. Obviously, this is back in 2008, so we're in 2020, gonna be 2021, and there's no real update on the Green Arrow movie, which sucks. I don't know why, especially since like we've got our Harley Quinn movie with Birds of Prey, and they introduced the Black Canary. So you would think like, okay, well, we got one part of the team. Why not introduce Green Arrow, Oliver Queen? And I think in BVS, like Bruce Wayne mentioned like briefly, where he was talking to Clark Kent. He's like, and Clark Kent introduces himself, Clark Kent, Daily Planet, and Bruce Wayne's like, Daily Planet, wait, do I own that one, or is that the other guy? So, and like, who's the other guy? So I'm thinking like, oh shit, like other people didn't catch this. Obviously, he's not referring to Lex Luthor, because Lex Luthor was at the party. So I think he was referring to fucking Oliver Queen, because he says, wait, do I own this one, or there's the other guy? That other guy is Oliver Queen. So Oliver Queen exists in the DCEU. He exists in the Snyderverse. So I'm thinking like, yo, why not fucking introduce Green Arrow into the Snyderverse? Introduce Green Arrow into the DCEU. Like make an origin film because Green Arrow is awesome. He's a great character. If you haven't been like familiar with Green Arrow, obviously with the CW show with Stephen Amell, but I don't like that iteration for the Green Arrow because he's too much like Batman, and Green Arrow is not like that. He's like the opposite of Batman. Obviously, if you've seen like the Just League Unlimited series, he's fantastic in that. And the Green Arrow books, I would prefer. Like I would recommend prefer, yeah, I would prefer you read this. No, I would recommend Green Arrow Rebirth. If you're not a Green Arrow fan, or if you don't know anything about Green Arrow, read Green Arrow Rebirth Volume 1. It is awesome. It's fantastic. Like that's what really got me back. Like that's what really got me into Green Arrow because I was like, oh wow, like this character's awesome. And also read Green Arrow Year One. I think it's by Andy Diggle, and that's the origin of Green Arrow, where he's a rich spoiled brat, and then obviously his yacht crashes, and he's like stuck on an island by himself, much like the CW, and he trains himself to be the Green Arrow and trains himself to be war hardened and stuff like that to fight crime and stuff like that. So it's awesome. It's a great book, and obviously if you watch CW, it's heavily inspired by that. But read Green Arrow Rebirth because that whole relationship between Green Arrow and Black Canary is fantastic. I love it, and that's why I want them to make the Green Arrow movie and make it with Charlie Hunnam. Like Charlie Hunnam, yes, Charlie Hunnam. He will be a fantastic Green Arrow. He will be perfect. He's the perfect Green Arrow. He looks the part. He acts the part. He looks like the comic representation of Oliver Queen with the blonde hair and the goatee and this awesome fan art. Dude, like this is Green Arrow right here. There you go. And he wants to do it. I know before. So for me, Charlie Hunnam would be the perfect Green Arrow. He looks the part. Like I said, he looks the part. He acts the part. And I think it will be a great get for Warner Brothers, for DC, if Charlie Hunnam accepts the role. So hopefully he accepts it, and hopefully, he wants to do it because I think it would be great to have a just a good Green Arrow movie, like the first Green Arrow movie. I think it would be great, and hopefully, he accepts the role. But anyway, those are my thoughts. Smash that like button, my beautiful DC brothers and sisters. Subscribe, hit me up on Twitter, Instagram. Let's continue having a DC conversation as always. Support DC, love DC. Do you want to see a Charlie Hunnam Green Arrow? Do you want to see an origin film? Would you want them to pick up the canceled Green Arrow Supermax movie? Because I think a Green Arrow Supermax movie would be really fantastic. I think it would be a great introduction for the character, just to show off how badass he is and how different he is from Batman, to stop, with all the comparisons. So yeah, let's fucking do this, baby. And as always, truth out.